I worked the overnight shift at a large warehouse on the edge of town. It's the kind of place where you get lost if you don't know the aisles. Rows and rows of towering shelves stacked high with boxes and crates. Everything from electronics to household goods. Usually, it's just me. The sound of my boots on the concrete floor, the occasional beep of my scanner, and the hum of the building's ventilation system fill the silence. Most of the overhead lights go off after hours, so I rely on my flashlight and a few emergency bulbs flickering weakly. The air smells like dust and metal, cold, stale. That night, I started my rounds around 11 p.m., checking inventory, scanning for misplaced items, making sure nothing was out of place. I was alone, or so I thought. Around 1:15 a.m., I heard something that froze me in place. A loud crash echoing from the far side of the warehouse. Metal hitting concrete, glass breaking. The sound was sharp and unmistakable, and it came from the loading docks. My heart jumped. I stopped what I was doing and reached for my walkie. "Control, do we have any visitors?" I whispered, trying not to panic. Only static came back. No response. I switched on my flashlight and slowly moved toward the noise. Shadows stretched across the shelves as I stepped carefully. Every sound seemed louder in the silence. That's when I saw him. A man standing near the vending machine. His face was covered by a plain white mask. Blank, expressionless, and chilling. He held a metal rod and was smashing the glass of the vending machine, ignoring the shards scattering everywhere. My breath caught. I backed up slowly, heart pounding like a drum, and whispered into the radio. "There's someone here, masked, breaking things." Then, the radio cut out. Dead silence. I looked down. The battery was full minutes ago. The man turned slowly toward me. The blank mask was all I could see. No words, no warning. He lifted the metal rod again and started smashing crates stacked nearby. Panic rose in my throat. I turned and ran. Suddenly, the warehouse felt like a maze. Endless aisles. Metal shelving towering overhead. Shadows everywhere. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Crashing. Heavy. Relentless. Metal scratching on metal. Breathing hard and ragged through the mask. I darted between aisles, knocking over boxes and crates, trying desperately to keep him in sight. He was faster than I expected, almost gliding through the darkness. I reached the security office and slammed the door, locking it behind me. Inside, monitors flickered, some showing static, others blank. I watched in horror as he moved, destroying cameras, pulling wires, smashing monitors with the metal rod. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and called 911. The dispatcher told me to stay calm and quiet, assuring me that help was on the way. Minutes dragged on like hours. Then, the lights flickered and went out completely. Emergency lights buzzed faintly, casting weak red glows. My heart slammed in my chest. Suddenly, I heard the door handle jiggle. Someone was trying to get in. The masked man. I backed into a corner, gripping a fire extinguisher like a weapon. The handle stopped moving. Silence. Then, crackling through the radio, a voice. "Kyle, are you there?" Relief flooded me. Moments later, police burst in, flashlights cutting through the gloom. They searched every corner but found no sign of the masked man. No footprints, no forced entry, nothing but shattered glass and damaged equipment. The mask was gone too, left behind near the vending machine. I never went back. Sometimes, late at night when I closed my eyes, I could still hear the scraping metal and the cold, heavy breathing behind me. Because that man, he wasn't there to rob me. He was there to destroy and maybe to hunt. I'm 25, working the overnight shift at a small laundromat on the edge of town. The place isn't fancy, just about a dozen washers and dryers lining the walls, folding tables in the middle, and one big front window that looks out onto an empty street. Most nights, it's dead quiet except for the hum of the machines and the flicker of the neon open sign buzzing overhead. I usually wear comfortable clothes for the long shift, leggings and a tight tank top that shows off my figure a little more than I'd like to admit, but it's warm enough and easy to move in. That night, like most others, I was folding clothes at the back table, my phone plugged in, music low in my earbuds, just to keep me awake. Around 2 a.m., I felt this weird prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like I was being watched. I glanced up and caught movement outside the big front window. A man was standing just across the street, staring right at me. He was tall, wearing a dark coat that swallowed his frame, and a baseball cap pulled low to shadow most of his face. His eyes never left mine. At first, I told myself he was probably just waiting for someone, or maybe homeless. But then, I noticed something. His slow, deliberate pacing along the sidewalk, never blinking, never looking away. He was watching me. I locked the front door, even though no one else was in the laundromat. The lock clicked, but he stayed outside, watching. Minutes passed, but he didn't leave. I tried to ignore him and focus on folding clothes, but I kept catching him in my peripheral vision. Then, suddenly, he tapped on the glass. It was a sharp, deliberate tap that echoed through the empty laundromat. I jumped, my heart pounding so loud I thought he might hear it through the glass. He smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was slow, chilling, and it didn't reach his eyes. Then, he reached out and tried the door handle, locked tight. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, whispering the whole time so I wouldn't draw his attention. The dispatcher told me to stay calm, stay inside, and keep the doors locked. I sat down behind the folding table, heart still racing, eyes glued to the window. Time stretched on. The man didn't move from his spot, just stood there, watching, waiting. Every time I thought maybe he had left, he'd shift his stance just a little, slow pacing. barely noticeable movements that kept my nerves on edge. Then I heard it, the scraping noise from the back door. My stomach dropped. Someone was trying to get in. I held my breath, phone in hand, barely daring to breathe. The door shook against the frame, the muffled sound of something trying to pry it open. I backed away slowly, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. I stayed silent, praying whoever it was would give up. The shaking stopped. The night returned to that suffocating silence. The man outside was gone. I stayed put, barely blinking, until I heard sirens approaching in the distance. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. They found the back door wide open and muddy footprints leading inside, but no sign of anyone. I kept shaking as they took my statement. They told me I was lucky to be safe. I quit the very next day. Because when someone watches you like that, when they realize you're alone and locked in, they're not just watching anymore. They're waiting for the perfect moment to get in. I work overnight as IT support at a downtown corporate building. It's the kind of job people assume is easy. Just sit in a chair, reset passwords, maybe even restart a server. And for the most part, they're right. The office is dead after 6 p.m. Just rows of empty cubicles, blinking routers, vending machines, full of stale chips. It's quiet, still, safe. At least, I used to think so. That particular night, I clocked in around 10:15. I wore my usual overnight shift clothes, black leggings, a cropped hoodie, and my worn-out sneakers. Hair up, no makeup, comfort over everything. The building was cold, the lights' motions triggered, and my only real company was the low hum of servers and the occasional echo of my own footsteps. If you told me then that someone was already inside, watching me, touching me, I would have laughed it off. I was in conference room B, crouched under one of the long glass desks. A support ticket said there was a loose HDMI cord, so I figured I'd knock it out first. I was on all fours, balancing a flashlight in my mouth, carefully tracing cables. And then I felt it. Hands, 2 of them. Warm, firm, slow, sliding across my hips from behind. They squeezed gently, like they were testing me. Not sudden or forceful, just deliberate, like someone who thought I wouldn't move. I froze, heart slamming in my chest. The flashlight dropped from my mouth and clattered to the floor. I shoved myself back and smacked my head on the edge of the desk. When I stood up and spun around, there was nothing. The room was completely empty. No sound, no movement. Just the distant hum of air vents and the soft flicker of the hallway exit sign. I told myself maybe I imagined it. Too much caffeine, too little sleep. But my skin was crawling. I stepped into the hallway. The lights flickered on automatically as I walked. Except they were activating just a second before I reached each section. Like someone had already passed through. I got back to my desk and dropped into my chair. Tried to shake it off. Tried to focus. That's when I noticed my ID badge was missing. It had been clipped to my waist the entire time. I checked my pockets, my chair, the floor. Nothing. Then something caught my eye on the screen. A notepad file was open. No title. No author. Just 5 words. You looked good on your knees. I didn't write that. I hadn't typed anything. And no one else should have been logged in. I stared at the screen, blood roaring in my ears. I slowly stood up, turned around, scanned every cubicle behind me. It was still quiet. Too quiet. I walked the halls, cautiously now, alert. Near the break room, I spotted something odd. A janitor's rolling cart was parked outside the vending machines. Out of place. The cart was usually stored in the supply closet. And that closet? It was locked. Had been all week. Something wasn't right. I slowly opened one of the lower compartments. Inside, there was a rolled up hoodie and a phone. An old one. No lock screen. I tapped the home button. The gallery was already open. What I saw nearly made me drop it. Some from early at night bent under desks, reaching into drawers. Some from nights before. Always low angles. Always private moments. Some zoomed on my back. Some my legs. One had me yawning with my hoodie lifted slightly, showing part of my lower back. I was being watched for weeks. My hands were shaking. I shoved the phone into my pocket and turned. And then I heard it. A whisper. Don't leave yet. I froze. The voice came from behind a nearby cubicle. Low, smiling, male. I turned. A man crouched between the cubicles, just watching me. I hadn't heard him come in. He looked calm, confident, like this wasn't his first time. He didn't rush at me. He just stood there and started walking slowly in my direction. I turned and ran. I cut left, sprinting past the IT room, dodging chairs. He was behind me. I could hear his shoes slapping the tile. I turned again. He was faster than I expected. He reached out and grabbed my ponytail, yanked hard. I cried out, twisted, slamming my elbow into his side. He grunted. Let go. I bolted towards the elevators, slammed the button again and again. He was coming. Closer, closer. The doors opened. I dove inside, heart exploding in my chest. The last thing I saw before the doors shut was him standing just outside, still grinning. Security searched the building. They found the cart, the phone, but not him. There was no badge entry recorded that night, and none of the external doors had been open. They said he might have copied a contractor's keycard. Maybe he had been hiding in the building for days. I don't know. The cops took the phone. It had hundreds of photos. Me and a few other women, all working late, all unaware. They offered to move me to day shift, but I quit. Because the worst part isn't the memory of him chasing me. It's that I never heard him coming until he whispered. It's knowing he was already under the desk before I got there. And now, even at home, when I crouch to fix something, even in daylight, I pause and I listen, because one day, I swear, I'll hear it again. That voice. Don't leave yet. Have a true story you never told anyone? I want to hear it. Send your encounter to theofficialcertdread@gmail.com. And maybe next time, your nightmare will be told here.